Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind Podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind Podcast. On this week's show, we are going to preview ADXC 2 taking place in Abu Dhabi. As always on the show, I'm your host, Maine, my co-host,
Miranda.
Hey, doing Miranda?
Pretty good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. We're also going to talk a little about potentially the results for Few Hunt, which is the event, the ADCC rules event that the Finishers crew out there in Bethlehem, PA, ran.
Yep.
It's cool to see more events using the ADCC format, so we're going to talk a little bit about that at the end. We also have, next week, we have Fight to Win Adults. They ran a Fight to Win Kids and Teens event this week.
Yes.
We don't have matchups right now for that event, but we'll probably end up covering that next week as well, because we love Fight to Win. So not a whole lot of news this week. Again, it is the second week of the year here in the U.S. for events, and usually a little slower.
It's like the first week of winter here.
Oh, yeah, it's snowing
on the East Coast.
It's snowing for the first time in like 2 years.
It snowed yesterday too,
which is funny.
I'm like, it's been snowing every.
I was in Norfolk, so I didn't see that. But
it's supposed to snow all week, so
okay, so it'll be
interesting.
Be a snowy week. Other than that, as far as news goes, there's not a whole lot going on.
No, I don't think so.
I'm trying to think. We have ADCC. We have the I'm blanking on. We have the Long Beach Open happening next weekend, January 20th, and we also have the IBJJF Europeans kicking off next week. We're probably going to cover that probably this following week as well. Probably go through the main event, the adult black belt champions matches for that event. But again, as per usual, we do not have brackets for it, and so we're not going to be able to preview it because it's hard to preview stuff without brackets. It tends to be just talking a bunch of names with not a lot of context, and this person actually dropped out, and so it makes a lot of the previewing a bit of a wash. What we do have is some of the final matchups for who's number one.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. For who's number 122
there are
on
some
February
really
9th.
good matchups there.
And they're also, on the end of the month, is a IBJJF Grand Prix.
It's the Absolute GP, right?
So they've
it's
announced.
a no-gi GP for IBJJF too. So I think they're calling, this is where I'm kind of confused with the nomenclature for the IBJJF, is they have their GP events, which are typically like no-gi, and then they have their crown events, which are like the gi events.
Is that how it's going to go?
I don't know. That's what they did last time. They had the crown event, which had a bunch of the different brackets for men and women, but they were all in the gi, and they have the GP, but they've also run GP events in the gi as well. So I don't really, IBJJF has a couple of paid events, which is great, but they do now have they have a no-gi GP coming up. Do you want to go through some of the names?
Yeah, the names that I can see that they've announced so far is Dante Leon, Patrick Guadio, and Roberto Jimenez. Yeah. Which all three of them are freaking beasts.
Yeah, that'll be it. Those are being on the corners of the brackets wouldn't surprise me for all those folks there.
And that's going to be February 29th. It's going to be an 8-man absolute GP for no-gi. So $40,000 grand prize.
Damn, that's a good prize. You got to do IBJJF rules for it, but now with the heel hooks and with the new changing of the footlock rule, either direction, like again, it's opening up the pool a little bit, and I like that we're seeing IBJJF loosen their stranglehold on the rule set a little bit and open it up.
Yeah, but they're going to do that then at the end of or after June, they're going to change the uniform requirements again.
Yeah,
it's
and
gonna
that's
be a
all
pain
ridiculous.
in the ass.
So who's number one has a bunch of matchups announced this week. We have Nick Rodriguez versus Victor Hugo. Super amped for that matchup.
Who did you say Victor Hugo looked like?
He looked like the
bad guy.
There's a picture of the John Wick 4 poster, the bad guy there, and he's smiling, he's kind of bearing down, and the angle looks exactly like a Victor Hugo picture he posted a couple of weeks ago, and I put them side by side, and everyone was like, they do kind of look similar.
Yeah,
they
did.
That.
They do.
So that'll be amped. Nick Rodriguez now he's just the Slayer now. Yeah. He can't be the black belt Slayer anymore because he's a black belt now. So this should be a great matchup. I think these guys have been against each other before. But I don't know.
I'll look quick while you go.
So that's awesome. We also have Miki Galvao versus Yuta Shimada, Kenta Iwamoto.
And that picture of both of them, they
picked some weird pictures.
They picked some weird
for
pictures because on that picture, like Micah's in glasses and looks like he's about to like go to a library somewhere.
They have some weird pictures for Micah
not
sometimes.
that. Micah looks like he's in Harry Potter. Like, he looks like he's a
They
character
picked a really
from Harry
weird
Potter.
picture for him. I wish they would have picked like a more championship picture of him.
He has to be giving them that picture, right?
He has to be. So this is taking place on February 9th. We also have Dante Leon versus Pato for the lightweight championship. That is going to be a phenomenal matchup. And in a pretty decent step up in competition, we have Tynan Dalpra taking on Oliver Taza and Nogi.
I think that's a good one.
That's a really good matchup. Again, Taza has a game that is very, very good Nogi. Methodical and like consistent, but he has a lot of like consistent sort of guys that can exploit that as well. So it's one of those, it'll be a great barometer for where Dalpra is, of like if he can get past the problems that Taza creates for everyone, he's beatable. But if he lets Taza get going, especially on the leg lock game, the knee bar game, it'll be really interesting. So these will be super fun to preview as we get closer and closer. We also have Ffion Davies taking on Amanda Tubby Aliquin.
Yeah.
I just watched Amanda's match versus Gabby Garcia from ADCC 2013 or 15.
Yeah, that was a great match.
I forgot how good that match was.
So Nikki Rod did win against Victor Hugo. Fight to win 135.
Yes.
In 2020.
I remember that. So we have that matchup. We also have Jacob Couch versus Sebastian Rodriguez.
Oh, they also won against at 3G6.
3GC, yes.
In 2021.
Who won that one?
Nikki Rod did.
Yep. That was the one where we saw Nikki Rod versus Roberto Jimenez, and Roberto Jimenez beat him in that bracket.
Oh, okay.
That was a really fun event for a 3CG. Jacob Couch takes on Sebastian Rodriguez. This will be super fun as well. Honestly, the whole card looks.
No, I'm completely wrong. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Victor Hugo won both.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. Well, don't listen to me.
Look, you're looking at BJJ Heroes
I know,
results.
but it's one of those things where I'm like talking, and it says win next to their name, and it's hard to like tell your brain, no, that means the person that
you're looking at their record
against. I don't know. My brain doesn't work sometimes. But so he has 2 wins against Nikki Rod.
Mm-hmm. But again, that's a Nikki Rod from 2 years ago?
Yeah,
when he'd been training for 2.5 years.
And when he said he didn't know jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. And then you kind of looked at his game, and now you're looking at his game, and it's like, oh, this is a guy that is in the room training, knows how to do jiu-jitsu now, and now he's a black belt.
Yeah, he knows jiu-jitsu these days. So.
Very different guy. So again, super happy for the Who's Number One card. That looks awesome.
And it doesn't look like he's went since. So
no. And especially with Victor Hugo's victory over Big Dan.
Yeah.
Like, I think that, again, not that Big Dan and Nikki Rod really trained together, but I think it's interesting. Like, Victor Hugo is taking on all the big guys in Nogi, and it's cool to see that matchup again. It's a great matchup to make. It's also cool to see him back on.
I think Nikki Rod also has a lot more athleticism than Big Dan does. Not to be.
Yeah.
I mean, he's more
Big Dan fixes a lot of problems, like just like the sheer imposition of his, and able to impose his game on you, versus Nikki Rod tends to play a lot more dynamically and quickly for a big guy.
He uses his athleticism. Yeah. And Big Dan uses his size.
You use the attributes you have at the division.
In that last tournament where it's just his scariness.
Yeah.
He won by just being imposingly scary.
Yeah. But hey, man, whatever it takes to work. I talked to John Hansen years ago about like the big guy division. He goes, yeah, man, you just take the character slider and you put it in one direction and that's every big guy. And I was like, that is a crazy way to put that, John. So that's coming up. ADCC Long Beach is happening. We're going to pick and choose probably the next couple of weeks what we end up covering. If there's one of these events that you want us to kind of dig deeper into and cover more, let us know if there's interest. Yeah. We'll kind of give our druthers. Yeah,
and like for Euros, we'll look at Langacker. We'll look at some of the ones that we know.
We usually cover Euros in full, but it is slotted right against a bunch of other big events. So that's what we got coming up.
We'll see what happens.
If we have this little lull here in the beginning of the year, it should be good. Miranda, any other kind of news or matchups that we have announced, or you want to move right into the preview for ADXC?
There's something that I keep on, like, my brain keeps on telling me happened, but I don't think anything big has happened in the land of jiu-jitsu. For whatever reason, I keep on thinking that something weird happened, but maybe I'm wrong.
A bunch of really fun fights for one in the next 2 weeks. 1FC, we have Daniel Kelly either had a match or is having a match. Mikey Musumeci wants to take on a YouTuber in some drama that I haven't really paid attention to. We have Cade Rotolo versus Tommy Langacker coming up in 2 weeks.
Okay.
I think that is on the 28th card for January 28th. So we'll probably preview that when we get 1 week closer to that. That is a really exciting rematch.
Yeah.
It might be Ty actually who's in that match versus Tommy.
Okay. But yeah, they have a bunch of stuff going on. I was
Mhm.
thinking there was something going on, but I don't know. It'll come to me as I talk. And then I'll be like, oh, we got to talk about this. It's some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, so
Want to move on to
we will
ADXC2?
move on. Yep, to ADXC2.
Where do you want to start with then? Do you want to start with the main event, or do you want to start with the co-main event or undercard? Like, given your druthers, where do you want to start?
You know how I am. I like to start at the top and
All
go
right.
down. I'm a crazy person that likes to follow the order.
Top event, we have, unfortunately, I think the one we're kind of the least excited about. We have Aljamain Sterling taking on Chase Hooper at welterweight.
Yeah.
Because both guys, Sterling was basically like, man, I don't want to cut for this thing. Do you want to make me cut? And Chase Hooper was like, nah, man, we're good.
Yeah.
And so, and again, that's what a lot of this is not uncommon when you have guys that are primarily MMA fighters that go into grappling events. And we've seen Sterling take a couple of grappling matches recently, not making the cut, not willing to make the cut, or not wanting to make the cut, really. Probably, obviously, willing to make the cut. These guys are pros. That's what they do. They're having it at welterweight. I think Hooper will be, but Sterling probably walks around at mid-60s anyway, and Hooper probably walks around a weight class up, but bigger than, obviously, who will be bigger than Sterling here, but this is a weird one. Hooper's made a joke about not pulling guard in the first minute, which makes me think that he is going to pull guard.
Hooper is about to have a baby.
Yeah. One other item in this match. So we talked about ADXC2, ADXC, the first event.
Can they pull?
I think they can pull.
Okay.
So full disclosure, the rule set for ADX, we haven't fully wrapped our head around yet.
Well, they have it explained. But you guys had indicated that you guys were a little confused.
It was confusing. And again, with any sort of jiu-jitsu rule set, the rounds always make things confusing because that is a very uncommon thing in jiu-jitsu, that massive reset that you get.
There's a judging criteria.
So it's essentially like MMA scoring. You have 3 judges. You have a 10-point must system. So it's like somebody must score 10 points. The other opposition fighter, if there are no penalties for the winning fighter of that round, scores less than 10 points. And then it's judged overall. It's judged by your criteria, your effective grappling, your effective aggression, and your essentially ring generalship, your effective area control of the fighting area. In this case, it's a cage. You have impact. Basically, they evaluate the impact of what's happening. So in a grappling sense, usually that is like you got a close sub or like you got a big takedown, or you like how much are you enforcing the match towards winning that match? You have dominance as a criteria as well. Fight ending submissions is like what they're looking for dominance.
Dominant positions, which can get a little hairy with the land of jiu-jitsu. Yeah,
it's like, is Gordo dominant position? I don't know.
Yeah. It depends on how you use it.
It depends on also what kind of a judge you are, and if you're prioritizing top control versus effective grappling off your back, and that's shifted greatly over the years as we cover grappling. And then you also have the final criteria is
duration.
Basically, are you on the guy's back for the entire round, and then the round ends, and then they put you back up? Like, you probably dominated for the duration of that round. So it's essentially,
but it's 3 rounds.
Going to be closer to MMA scoring. Going to be closer to what we see Fury grappling use.
Is this a situation where, like, let's say you sub in round 1, do you go into round 2?
I do not believe so.
Okay.
No, I think this is
because there's a local organization where if you sub in round 1, they still put you in round 2.
So I used to commentate for the organization.
Did you?
Yep, back in the day, 2016, 2017.
That's where our boy, what's it called? It's gonna Keith. Keith is gonna go against the guy who just won against Aljamain Sterling and won.
Danzler?
Kevin Danzler.
Huh.
2 of them are going against each other in February.
At Arena?
At Arena.
Okay. Yep. So that's an odd rule set. So this is ADXC. It's judged like MMA. I kind of question.
But you do end the round. You do end it.
You do end the match if you win by submission.
Okay.
It's not the Chael Sonnen rules.
Okay.
It's really the question in my mind of, like, can Sterling pass Hooper's guard? I don't think he can. I think Hooper's going to be bigger here. I think Hooper is maybe not a better wrestler, but a better mat, like, open guard grappler.
Yeah.
And we've seen a couple of matches in a row where Sterling, especially in the last match versus Danzler, but Danzler's a straight jiu-jitsu guy for the most part, really struggled in that range.
Yeah.
I don't know how much. Again, Sterling's a champion, a former world champion level guy. Those guys typically don't make wild changes to their style in grappling at this point in their career.
Yeah.
What got them to the stage, what got them to the dance, what got them to this level is typically what they lean into, obviously, because you don't get to that level wildly changing up your style throughout your career. You just can't do it. We saw Sterling, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
2 weeks ago? Something like that?
Something like that.
End of December. I do not think we're going to see anything different here. It's really, can Chase Hooper get to Sterling's back, or can he play into the legs and go for some sort of leg lock on Sterling? Can Sterling pass off that opportunity? I think this is going to be a slow, kind of what we saw from Aljamain Sterling at Polaris, kind of what we saw him from Fury.
Yeah.
The last couple of grappling matches we've seen from Sterling.
I hope he's been working on passing guard.
Yeah, I do too.
But that's also a problem with a lot of MMA guys that come into submission grappling, is that they're used to they are used to punching their way out of guard.
Punch your way through the guard.
Yeah,
it's what you need to do
rather
there.
than learning to actually pass.
That's why a lot of guys will camp in half, because you kind of want to camp in half where it just controls the hips. Like, tactically speaking, the sports have divorced way further apart in the last 10 years and 15 years than they ever have before, and the skills you need in sport grappling are pretty different than the skills you need in professional mixed martial arts and MMA. It's like the way you control, the way you pass. Like, I can punch through a guard and very quickly get through your guard, but a lot of times I don't really want to even go to side control. I want to camp from the half guard, get past the knee shield, and like that's what I want to look for.
Yeah.
So again, I kind of think Hooper takes this. I think it goes to decision. I think it is a slow match. I think it goes all the rounds, however many rounds they have for this one.
All the rounds.
Could be 5 rounds. We don't know yet. This is Nogi. That's all I got for this one. I think Hooper takes it. I think he is more willing to play off his back on the ground, and he's going to put the match there. And Sterling is going to do what we saw him do the last match and not really engage hard enough to pass. I do think AJP here has actually criteria for stalling, which is good though. Okay. So I do think we will see stalling here, and stalling calls for Sterling if he decides to play it the same way that he played versus the dance floor match of Fury.
Okay.
That could change the tactics, but given what Sterling said after his Fury match, I think he's just upset that the match isn't happening in the kind of the framework of how he wants it and how he thinks the rules should be. So I don't really think the stalling calls will deter him.
So, and if you go into the rules, what they say is, we went through the different ways that they score it, but effective grappling is your first priority, and then after that comes everything else. So it is trying to finish the match, and trying to be
progress,
aggressive.
like kind of what ADCC does, where it's like you're trying to progress the match.
But it goes into what a 10-8 round is, what exactly it means,
which is great. I wish I would have seen this on the pre-show, because we could have read through it. But they do have full criteria up. If you're curious, you should read it. It broadcasts on, we're finding it on 2 different places, but TX7.AE is where we watched it last time. I think Josh and I covered the first ADXC.
I didn't cover it because I was flying.
I think it's like $15. It might be $20, but it's something like that.
I think I was doing the ADCC Open that weekend. I think I was in Texas that weekend, because I remember it happening and I remember hearing about it, but I was also sick during that entire time. So
So the next match we have is Bruno Lima versus Manuel. Anything else on the Sterling versus Hooper match?
Nope.
Next one we have is Bruno Lima versus Manuel Ribamar. I wish I knew more about Bruno. So what I love about ADXC here is they're bringing a lot of, because it is an offshoot of UAJJF and AJP, the World Tour, most of the folks on this card are like World Pro champions, which if you don't know World Pro is essentially the opposite side of IBJJF. Now, it is the other premier gi organization in the world, and for years in very similar esteem to
but it's also,
the IBJJF World Championship.
Yeah, it's also in a different, it kind of takes over. IBJJF is generally North, South America, a little bit of Europe. And this is the rest of the world.
Yes. It's also paid.
Yeah.
You get paid to win World Pro, which is why you saw, I think you talked about it, Craig Jones' last gi match was at a World Pro event or something.
It was purple belt gi, I think he said, something like that.
No, he did one at Brown, because we covered a couple weeks ago. He's done a little bit of Brown. And
was
he actually has competed in the gi before. I think he's competing against Stuart Cooper in the gi
Oh,
at
okay.
Boa Super 8.
Oh, okay.
But it's uncommon. But Bruno Lima, I think, is a 2-time world pro champion.
He is.
Manuel Ribamar, we've covered him for years and years and years. He's Natalia DeJesus husband.
He's normally the one has the baby on his lap.
Yes, while she competes.
She competes, and he's like carrying a baby, and she's.
Yep.
It's a cute little family, I do have to say.
I don't really know how this one's gonna go. Like, I don't know. I know they've been against each other before, but I'm trying to think of the dynamics of their previous matchups. I don't remember covering Lima a ton recently on the show.
No, Lima just won against Anderson.
Oh yeah, Anderson at one of the AJP events.
Yeah.
And he beat Anderson Ferreira pretty not easily, but like he looked dominant in the match with Anderson.
If you guys want to giggle, look up how to pronounce Anderson on Google.
Yeah, it gives you a very funny pronunciation of it. Anderson Ferreira. We know Anderson's very good. We saw him on BJJB. We've seen him on really
and we've seen
killing the AJP scene.
And we've seen him more recently in some of the stuff stateside.
Yeah.
He was in the GP, right?
Yep. I think
and
he
was in something else IBJJF related, but
so he has a really recent win over Anderson Ferreira this last weekend.
So Lima won against Francisco Lowe at the European Open in 2023. So I mean, he won against Wierzinski.
Yeah.
AJP. So I mean, it's not like he's been taking on decent, competitors nonstop. So yeah.
I don't know how this one's going to go. Again, this is a gi match. This, I think, will be much more informed by the rule set.
Yeah.
I think, for some reason, Ribamar is going to pull here and try to get him in the lasso guard. And I think that Bruno Lima might be able to deal with that, especially because he dealt with Anderson Ferreira's guard in their last match at AJP. That's the most recent match I've seen from him. Very, very well. It'll be a fun main event. I don't have much more on it because I kind of do want to get to Ffion Davies versus Luana Pinheiro.
Okay.
So we looked up, Ffion Davies, Grappler of the Year, ADCC champion, IBJJF, no-gi world champion at the weight and absolute as a woman under 150, world champion in the gi, who's #1 champion. She's Ffion Davies.
Yeah.
The best in the world. Anywhere around her weight class, the best in the world.
Yeah.
Luana Pinheiro. I keep butchering her name. Luana Pinheiro. Is a UFC fighter, strawweight, judoka. I think she was a Brazilian national champ.
She is.
Judoka. Primarily fights in the UFC now. She won a contract in the UFC through a knockout on Contender Series. She has a smattering of wins. Most of them nowadays are by knockout.
Yeah.
Or by finish.
And I mean, her record, her MMA record's 11-2, which is good freaking.
She's I think she's ranked number 10 right now at strawweight in the UFC. She just had a tough match versus Amanda Ribas that she lost, but very, very good fighter. I just think it's what we talked about before. You have a grappler in grappling versus an MMA fighter doing MMA. Fion's not splitting her time doing MMA. Probably going to be able to beat Pinheiro. Pinheiro has great judo. I assume this is in no-gi.
Yeah. It's not on the list.
No, because so BJ Heroes has a great breakdown of the card,
but it's
and has
missing
no-gi.
But it's missing 2 of the main
events, and it's missing some other matches as well. So I assume that this is in no-gi, which Ffion is the best in the world at the weight. This is a catch weight. I assume both women are coming up to probably 130 or so.
Davies fights at lightweight for IBJJF. That's
136?
136.
Something like that?
Yeah.
Pinheiro's a strawweight and cuts pretty heavy to get to strawweight.
Oh, does she? Okay.
I think from all the pictures I've seen, it looks like she cuts pretty heavy to get to strawweight. Again, the only thing that I think that throws a big wrench into this matchup, that other than being a very clear, probably easy win for Ffion, is that it's in the ADXC rule set.
Yeah.
Which is much more similar to the rule sets that Pinheiro is used to dealing with in the MMA and the UFC.
And true, if you're not used to a cage, because they were in a cage for this.
Yeah.
And you don't know how to work off of a cage, somebody who knows how to effectively throw you up against it, and then you don't know how to get off of it. And especially, like, for anybody who's never done cage work before, the cage hurts. There's nothing positive about it. You get slammed into that thing, you bounce a little bit, but it hurts. And then to cage walk, to do all that kind of stuff.
To wall wrestle, to cage wrestle and wall wrestle, it's own
a whole
collection of skills. And I don't do much of it anymore, but occasionally, once or twice a year, I'll do some cage work. And I always go like, all right, I forgot how this is a skill that I have forgotten to use.
Or they like grab hold of your hips and throw your hips at the cage. Like, you can't move.
And watch this. I interviewed Ffion Davies, not Ffion Davies. I'd love to interview Ffion. I interviewed Danielle Kelly at East Coast Trials for ADCC, and just after her match against Jessica Khan, and she talked about using the cage. I asked her about using the cage in that match because it was obvious that Danielle Kelly had put a bunch of work into the cage, and Jessica had not been putting as much work into the cage.
Jessica's school doesn't even have walls. Do they have a wall you could wrestle against?
Yeah, no.
They just have an open.
Mm-hmm. So that is the only thing I could think could potentially put a wrench into.
Yes, Pinheiro just throws her up against the wall.
If Pinheiro can use the cage really effectively here. But again, I think Ffion is the best woman in the world right now in submission grappling.
But that would be the way. That would be the only way to really slow her down.
And then you're trying to win on top position and control. And I think Ffion is crafty enough to be able to work herself out of that situation. She also has great submission hunting. And I think
she also has a little bit of judo. She's not the same like not dedicated, but like
she wasn't a national champion. She wasn't a Welsh champion.
No,
but she was on the team, I think.
But you can see it when she competes because she still hip throws.
I mean, even in her seminars, she'll occasionally still show a little bit of judo here and there. I forgot that actually she has a judo background as well.
Yeah, not a heavy judo background, but she definitely has one. And she still throws the crap.
Ffion started in judo. Yeah. So that's kind of an interesting fold to this, is you have two former judokas going up against each other in submission grappling.
I'm only thinking because like what you get a lot in when you have a cage is you press the person up against the cage and then you throw them
off the cage.
You throw them off the cage
because they push against you from the cage. Yeah.
And stuff like that, like those kind of things. But I'm sure her being at the level that she's at, I'm sure she's worked on, like, that's something that she's thought about.
I don't really know the dynamic of this match.
She's a black belt in judo.
Yeah, I know she is. I just didn't. I didn't know what level Ffion. I forgot what level she competed at in judo. I thought she got to like a junior national level in Wales in judo. I thought she was a pretty decent judoka.
Yeah. Holds a black. She was a member of the Wales judo national team.
Okay, that's
when she was a junior. So she was a junior champion.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Okay.
So kind of honestly, not dissimilar levels of judo.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Well, not dissimilar. Like Pinheiro was a national Brazilian champion, which is I think probably a higher level, but both some time ago. So as far as dynamic in this match, it wouldn't surprise me to see Ffion finish here. Pinheiro is an MMA fighter in the UFC. Notoriously, they're hard folks to put away, but if anyone's going to do it, it could be Ffion. Yeah, but
you watched all of Fion's matches for Worlds, right? World Nogi, that was our last one that we watched.
Where major. She won absolute and her weight class.
And she was tooling people. Like, it wasn't that she was really ever that much in trouble. Like, she'd be in trouble for
passing
a second,
and top game.
But it was like, nah, I'm done.
I think she takes an armbar off the top.
Okay.
That's how I think this match ends. Is Ffion? I think about her Worlds matches, the way that she effortlessly passed and either took top position or took your back if you gave it up.
Yeah.
I think we see Pinheiro looking to post off and turn near the cage, and we see Ffion landing into the cage and finishing an armbar here.
Sounds about right.
Would be my guess. Next match. This would be a fun one. We have Pablo Lavaselli versus Espen Mathiesen. We looked this up on BJJ Heroes and looked up a couple of the matches before. The match that we watched was their 2021 World Pro Final match that we saw Pablo win 5-4 versus Espen.
Yeah.
But man, that is a really fun back and forth match.
Yeah.
It's very high scoring.
And it was a lot of sweeps.
Yes.
Which is like
it's a gi match.
In all honesty, is a little mind blowing because I feel like there aren't a lot of those kind of matches nowadays.
Yeah. Again, it was 2021, so it was a couple years ago, but this match ends with Espen driving up in a wrestle-up sweep that he did from a long leg De La Riva, almost getting it, thinking he's gotten it at the end, but there not being enough time. I think there's 2 different video reviews that take place in that match. Like, it's a very good
by the time he
match.
comes up, the time ends right then.
Yeah.
So he didn't have his 3 seconds to basically hold it.
Right.
You know?
But again, that gives you context for how close that was. I think...
And Espen won by points that same year at the Grand Slam, the Abu Dhabi.
In Abu Dhabi Grand Slam, but that was win by 1 point, I think.
Yeah.
They have another match in 2020. I think they have even further matches, but those are the 2 that we could see and find.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting because they both kind of know each other. It is in the gi.
Yeah.
So they kind of know what they're getting into. And it always makes me wonder if once you get to a certain level, your game is your game and it's what you play.
Especially in the gi.
But especially in the gi, and this was 2 years ago. So has either of them then implemented some changes to their game that will bring them ahead of the other, or is it going to be the same back and forth that we saw before?
Right. Yeah, I'm curious about this. I think we'll probably see a very similar De La Riva long leg X guard lapel sweeping game that we did see from both guys, from Lavaselli and Espen.
Yeah, they both have a very similar lapel game.
There was a moment we watched the match and there was a sweep, and then it was the other person playing the same guard on the bottom, and I went, oh, there was a sweep there actually. It's one guy had a blue gi on, one guy had a white gi on.
But they have almost the same gripping, and they have the same everything.
And they also have the same kind of counters to grip. Yeah. Too. You saw like a big effort for Espen to avoid Lavaselli passing the lapel under his leg. Like,
do you know your coach taught me how you're supposed to beat that?
Yeah. Yeah, Greg is very good at that. My coach plays a lot of that.
Yeah, he showed me that on Sunday, and I was like, wow, that's not this Sunday, but the last Sunday. And I was like, wow, no clue. Didn't realize that. Thank you, Greg.
Yeah, my coach is a very good lapel player.
Thank you very much, Greg, because I had no idea.
Yeah, my game against my coach is basically just like, well, whatever grips you want, I don't want you to have them.
Yeah.
Because the minute he gets them, it's just a nightmare. So, again, it's given me a greater appreciation for matches like this, having a coach that can play that against me and like just seeing how effective it is if you have someone that is unwilling or you're unable to break their grips. Yeah. As far as making a pick on this one, I think Lavaselli is up in the series. I think he has they're 1-1, but we didn't see the results for the 2020 match that they had, and I think they have matches earlier. So it looked like in this last match that Espen made a mistake by trying to bolo from a longer range, and Pablo got his hips away, and as a result, Espen was unable to finish the berimbolo or get the hip, and Lavaselli was able to tech out and make the distance and space to prevent that. I kind of don't think Espen makes that same mistake. Yeah. Espen kind of seemed to be in the driver's seat for a lot of this match.
And he's a bolo, that's his jam.
And he kind of gave up that 1-2 points when was unable to get the back on it because he got overzealous.
Yeah, and I think that was also one of those. I think it was like a minute or minute and a half left.
Yeah, something like that. Again, AJP is short matches. Those 6-minute matches are so great.
But at that time, like, you think, okay, I gotta go. Like, I gotta do this now. Or
my sequence may take 45 seconds to score completely. I need to kind of run it now.
Because a bolo, if you do, like, even the effective bolos take a minute. They're not like, I mean,
not everyone's Mikey Musumeci. They can just fucking and turn you over. And
like I said, as if you're a black belt world champion going against Joe Bro that has a black belt but doesn't compete very much, then you can pull a bolo probably in 5 seconds. But with 2 high level gentlemen,
you're at a World Pro final.
At that level, even if you get a meow, even the meows take a minute. The meows will be like upside down, like grabbing a butt. I call it the butt grip.
The butt grip, yeah.
They had the butt grip. And
AJP banned the butt grip a couple years ago.
Oh, did they?
I'm very happy because he kept pulling the asses out.
Well, I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do. I saw one of those butt grips this weekend at Grappling Industries.
Yep, it happens.
Yep.
I think that Espen Mathiesen takes this over Pablo, but seeing Pablo take this again doesn't surprise me at all.
I'm going to go with Pablo because Pablo just won Brazilios a while ago.
Oh, he did, didn't he?
and he's been doing a lot.
I'm sticking with Espen. I love my Norwegian guys. I love watching Tommy and Espen just winning. Wreck house.
I like the Norwegian guys because they just like don't give a shit.
Dude, they go out there to win and kill.
They're
I love it.
They're the old Viking like blood.
They really are. Yeah, this is honestly the gi match that I am most excited for on the card.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because again, they have the history. They're both pretty active players. They're both familiar with the AJP rule set and format.
And they keep moving. Like they're not going to be a boring gi match. They're going to be like an exciting, like you don't know what's going to happen, and somebody's going to mess up their grip and oh shit, and
I like
then
that. Again, curious about it in the cage.
Yeah, and the cage just gets a little more complicated, but
yeah. So moving on to the main card, there's a bunch of other matches here we have on the main card, but I really want to focus on one match on the prelims and one other match on the main card. We have Gabriel Sousa versus Yuta Shimada.
Yeah.
I've commentated a match for Yuta before. Huge fan. But man, Gabriel Sousa is a tough dude to
and
to get past.
I'm wondering if they ever have trained together, only because Shimada's at Marcelo Garcia in New York, and Sousa is now at
Essential.
Essential.
Is he at Essential?
Did
he move?
He's at Essential.
Oh, he did, didn't he?
Yeah, he's there. And they're
with Ffion.
Quite close to each other, gym-wise. And I wonder if they've ever actually, been in the same room with each other.
So I couldn't find, when I looked this matchup earlier on the pre-show, I couldn't find a match between them.
I haven't either. But I think that's a size thing, too, because I think Shimada's smaller.
Yeah. So for some reason I thought Shimada was closer to Gabriel Sousa's size, but you looked it up.
He's like at 65 kilos and 70 kilos. And I think Sousa normally cuts to be just 77 kilos, right? Because he's a 77.
I thought he was a featherweight. I thought he was a 45er.
Is he a 45er?
I always think Sousa's about my size because we saw Gabriel.
I get wrong when I try to figure out people's weights and sizes.
Because we saw Gabriel Sousa versus Pato at the World Championships for ADCC. And that was 66 kilos.
Okay.
But again, I know he's cutting down to make that, and I know Shimada typically is 64 to 70. But again, couldn't find a match between the two when we had looked at each other. If there is one,
so he's
I'd love
normally
to see it.
64 kilos, so they are the same size.
Pato or Shimada?
No, Sousa.
Gabriel Sousa, not Pato. Yeah, sorry, Gabriel Sousa.
Yeah, so I don't think they've won against each other.
Yeah, I looked it up and I couldn't find it. I am
Which
curious.
Is weird. Yeah, that's a bizarre thing.
We're actually Zach and I are going to commentate Yuta Shimada's match coming up on Copa Elite 3.
Oh, nice.
February 10th. He's on that card as well. He was on the first Copa Elite, and he's on this one as well. So excited to kind of watch Shimada and see. I think I commentated his first Nogi match since he went to ADCC.
And isn't one of our friends on that card?
Yeah, there's a lot of folks we know on that card.
No, but I mean, isn't one of our Grappling
Weinstock's on the card too. Yeah, co-host from the show. Josh Weinstock just got his match announced on that card as well, so that'll be a lot of fun. I love Yuta Shimada's game. I love the judo that he brings. I think this is going to be in the gi, but I think that Gabriel Sousa, Yumada has great passing.
He does.
Sousa has a great guard.
And that's what on his fight poster, because with these matches they have fight posters.
Yeah.
Where at the bottom they have just a little bit about their game or something about their game, and Yuta's is heavy guard passing.
Yeah, and what it should say is Sayonage and then heavy guard passing.
Yeah, it should be he will throw you on your brain.
He will throw you in gear nogi and then he will heavy guard pass you. Yeah. But I think that Sousa overall, again, Sousa has just had more success recently at the higher levels than Shimada has been able to have. Shimada does a lot of opens. And
we've also seen Sousa also battle. We've seen him battle in matches, be down, and at the last minute win.
Yeah.
He has that. He doesn't stop.
And this is a rule set that I think that really works well because you have the multiple rounds.
Yeah.
You have the ability to, take a big risk and then, or be down or be in a bad spot and then come back from it. I think what we just saw Gabriel Sousa versus Kennedy at Aiga.
Yeah.
And he looked good, and then Kennedy was able to just look like a monster.
Kennedy's also a lot younger.
And Kennedy's also, former ADCC world champion, one of the best. Again, also one of the best in the world. Cobrinha Sr. is also a monster. You don't give your son your ADCC slot as champion and then have your son go and win and not be a family of monsters. So, again, it's really the question of how does the newer training environment at Essential for Sousa with Ffion and with JT and in the gi versus Shimada, who is very much primarily a gi player nowadays. Earlier in his career when he won ADCC trials, he did both, but now he's really much more of a gi player.
And you spoke to him about it, and he was discussing how he hadn't done a no-gi match since that tournament.
Yeah, basically, essentially since the either Asian Open or since the ADCC trials, he hadn't done a no-gi match.
Yeah.
The match we commentated him at.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of more technical reasons why I think Sousa takes this, other than he has more. Just the numbers, he has had more success recently over high-level competition.
Yeah, I also think Sousa is scrambly, so even if Shimada throws him, he's the type that, when you get thrown and you're not expecting it, you don't turtle, you don't immediately jump. But Sousa's one of those guys that even if he gets thrown to his back, he's like a cat and just jumps back to his feet. You know what I mean? I think it'll be hard for Shimada to hold Sousa down.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking as well.
In order to actually pass him or to do anything, he's going to have to hold him down. And that's not a very easy thing to do.
This is another one where I'm curious how much of the cage work will come into play.
Yeah.
Where it's like how much work has Yuta done on the cage and how much work has Gabriel done on a cage. And if either guy will put each other into the cage here.
Neither of those gyms have a cage.
Marcelo's doesn't have a cage?
Mm-mm.
Really?
Nope.
I thought it did.
Nope.
Huh.
I mean, I've only been to the newer Marcelo's, which is the last couple of years.
But still in the last couple of years.
But
if you haven't done cage work in 4 years, you kind of haven't done
there
cage
isn't
work.
a cage in that gym.
Yeah. Okay.
And Essential, I don't believe, has a cage unless it has one that they've never shown in pictures. I've never physically been there.
Yeah.
But.
Do you remember offhand how Kennedy got past Gabriel Sousa? Was it a double underpass? Was it a shelf? Was it a wrestle up? It was a wrestle up.
Yeah.
Because Sousa got low and then Kennedy just hit one of the craziest, just decide to finish the double or single we've seen. I don't think we're going to see that level of wrestling out of Shimada. I don't think that'll be a factor.
Because Shimada doesn't care to go to his back. He'll go to his back. He doesn't, he doesn't mind that.
Right.
Where I think Sousa will fight, like I said, like a cat to stay off of his back. Very seldom do you ever see him work from his back. At least that I remember.
Do you think we'll be able to see, again, in the gi, I'm so much more used to Gabriel Sousa in no-gi than I am in gi, so I'm thinking back to all of these these no-gi matches for him.
But I haven't seen him do the gi in a while.
I think Worlds, he did the gi, but I don't remember how, I don't remember the last time that we have covered him in the gi.
It's been a minute.
And so that's another kind of X factor here, other than if Shimada has just been putting more work in the gi, and Sousa is putting more time into no-gi. But again, he's at the Essential camp. The Essential got JT and all those folks do a pretty decent split of gi and no-gi.
Do they?
know he's in both. Yeah.
Okay.
Again, JT did Doris.
Yeah.
Two-time ADCC champion.
But still, when you think about their
gi season versus not gi season,
Yeah. You think more about them in no-gi than gi, at least in my brain. But I could be completely wrong with that too.
Huh. I kind of think about the other way, but I think you're probably right. But in my head, you say Essential, I think about their gi stuff. But maybe I've seen more of their gi stuff recently on social media.
Yeah, maybe. And they were getting ready for Worlds. And
they do tend to produce more no-gi champions than they do gi champions. I'm gonna go Sousa on this one, but the more I think about it, the more I think this could be potentially a much closer match, just given the cage, given that it's in the gi, given how much more gi Shimada has been doing. But again, Gabriel has been having more success in no gi against high levels of competition, so it'll be fun. We have Freeman versus Pouya Rahman. If you remember, do you have any more on the Sousa versus Shimada match? Pouya Rahman is the guy that kicked Big Dan, got a point taken away at AIGA, and then went full ADCC and slammed a guy out of an armbar. Not hard, but slammed him down out of the armbar and got DQ'd for it at AIGA. I don't know anything about Freeman's game, and he's not tagged on the poster either here. But in the cage, we know that Pouya Rahman is an MMA fighter. I think he is going to feel very comfortable in the cage here, putting a ton of pressure on Freeman. It's a heavyweight bout. Again, it is interesting that Pouya Rahman is on this card as well, considering how he looked at AIGA. But again, he is, I think, a beach wrestling champion. He is a very, very decorated grappler.
I've always wanted to do beach wrestling. I think that would be fun.
I think it would be atrocious. It'd be terrible.
I think it would be terrible because
Sand
I think
everywhere.
you get sand in your eyes and stuff, but I
Yeah.
think it would be fun.
Yep.
I'll do that one day.
The other matchup we're having on the card that I want to talk about is, I'm blanking on his first name now that I don't have the rest of the card
Okay, who are you looking at?
up.
Tell me.
Yeah, Omar Al Suwaidi versus Shay Montague.
Okay.
Shay just took the.
Okay, let's back up for a second.
Yep.
Let's back up to Freeman.
Okay.
So Freeman, I think, is an Olympic a wrestling champion.
That's what I
I
don't know.
think he's an Olympic wrestler.
Okay.
I think he's
Versus Pouya.
yeah. I think he's a
Oh yeah, look at
like
that.
a high level wrestler, like very high level. He's an MMA fighter and a
Okay.
high level wrestler. It looks like he's a PFL guy, Denzel Freeman,
Okay.
heavyweight. His nickname is Batman.
So I take back a lot of what I said. His match versus Pouya Rahman.
Yeah. So
Um,
he is. It looks like he's an MMA fighter. It looks like he's also
In the PFL.
PFL, and he's also like he was a collegiate wrestler, maybe Greco. So and Greco's really good. Greco translates
Yeah.
really well to jiu-jitsu. So that might be a banger right there. You never know.
So Freeman's gonna push a pace on Rahman.
Yeah.
Because Rahman
He's like Denzel's like a decorated.
looks like he's a Marine
he's
as
a
well.
Marine, yeah.
Okay.
He's so.
I couldn't find his tag earlier when I looked because I knew I saw
Yeah,
Pouya Rahman on the
It
card.
took me a second. It took me a second to find him, but it looks like he's a Greco-Roman
Yeah.
wrestler. First place match. I mean,
I'm gonna be curious if they wear the shoes or not. If ADXC allows them to wear the shoes, because I figure that Pouya and him would both decide to wear shoes.
You could see that. I could see that.
Again, Pouya has 2 world titles in beach wrestling, so maybe he won't elect to wear the shoes.
Yeah,
But
beach wrestling.
that will actually, I'm more excited about that match than I was now that I know who Freeman is.
Yeah,
So
yeah, we found him. It took us a minute, but third place at the nationals for Olympic trials. For Greco-Roman.
So very good Greco-Roman wrestler
Yeah.
out of the U.S. versus Pouya Rahman.
Yeah. So anyway,
That should be fun.
Yeah.
Those guys are going to go head-to-head on it. The other match I want to talk about on this card is Omar I always butcher his name. Suwaidi versus Shay Montague. Shay just recently won. I think
look, they messed up the names. Is it Omar and Muhammad? Do they have the same last name?
I do not believe so. I think that's
So they messed it up.
here.
Yeah. No, same last name.
Yeah, they do have the same last name.
Oh, that's weird.
There's 2 guys with the same last name, different first name.
Yeah.
Muhammad Al Suwaidi is
that's wild.
versus
Are
St. Jean Ju
are they
on this card
related?
as well. I don't think so.
Okay.
But Shay is, I think he is the Roosterweight world champion in IBJJF Nogi.
Who?
Shay Montague.
No, because that was, I don't think
He's the Nogi European champion.
Yeah. I don't think he won here because in the United States, I thought, what's it called, won that. We know him. He's from New York. Because it's Rooster.
Unity. Yeah,
Roosterweight.
Junie won.
No, for Rooster?
Yeah, Junie.
No, Rooster. Junie didn't win Rooster. The smaller guy from New York, from like upstate New York, who runs Emerald City Invitational.
Sam Michael.
No, not McCall. No, not that guy. I get that guy and another guy confused all the time. Give me a second.
Yep.
It's a smaller gentleman from the New York, New Jersey area that won it.
Okay.
Because I remember having this conversation with one of my friends about it. Because it was like, I know him. And he won. Anyway, let's move on.
This will be fun because Omar is an AJP world champion, and Shay, I think, just won a IBJJF world title.
Yeah.
Because he was the first Scottish world title holder in the IBJJF. And I'm pulling through his BJ Heroes record here to see if I can find exactly what the quote was or exactly what he won at black belt here. But he's a newer black belt out of Scotland and known for his guard game. Like, go back and watch his IBJJF matches. You can see he has a really dynamic, kind of a pretty fun guard. He's pretty active. But
I'm getting it wrong again. But no, Everton Sousa is the Roosterweight.
That you're thinking of?
No, I'm thinking about somebody completely different.
Okay. Because Junie won a world title too.
But Junie's light feather.
Yeah.
He's not feather.
And I was going to put Junior at rooster weight, but he won light feather, and then Shay Montague won at rooster, I thought.
Yeah.
But again.
No, really small guy would always took a match with anybody of any size. He always had like
Esteban?
No, he always had like a mohawk, and he was local.
Oh.
He would take matches all the time.
That's worldwide.
What?
Yeah.
Whatever that guy's name. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know we've talked about him for years.
Yeah. Okay, give me a second.
Yeah, I'm blanking on
But
his name as well.
He won the one division.
Okay.
Because I remember he won, and I was like, hell yeah. Like Jack Stapleton.
Jack Stapleton.
Because I was like, hell yeah, we know him.
Yep.
He's local enough, But
Okay. So
anyway, random side note for the day.
This I think this one would be a lot of fun as well because again, two of the smaller guys on the card. You have your IBJJF world champ and you have your UAE world champ. Shane has a really fun guard, and he seems like a guy that is actively really looking to be exciting and push that forward. He's also young. I think
he's also got quite the blonde mullet.
19. He does have the blonde mullet with the non-blonde mustache.
Yeah.
Very recognizable. That is certainly a look, but man, he is easy to pick out in the podium pictures.
Yeah.
Which, again, works well for your branding. That'll be a fun one. I'll have much more on that, aside from I think that match will be a lot of fun. They're two really high-level guys. I think potentially they should be on the main card, but it is understandable given the other levels of talent we have on the main card that we didn't go through. It should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's on... You can find the links to it through their Instagram page, but I think you can also find it on AX7.com.
Yeah,
I think is the other one.
It might depend on also where you're from.
Yeah,
where you're...
it has some regional locking associated with it as well. So it should be a good card. What else do we have, Miranda? I think that's the only thing we had. We did have results for Few Will Hunt.
Yeah, this weekend.
Really, a lot of the folks that we thought in these brackets would take it. We have Eric Naples being the men's under 86, under 57.
I would have loved to known that he won it because I would have congratulated him because he coached against me at Grappling Industries. I was coaching one of my guys in white belt.
Oh, that's funny.
And he was coaching against me, and I was talking to him, but I had no idea he had just won the tournament and then came straight to another tournament.
Yeah, Eric's front of the show. I've done commentary with Eric before.
He's a good dude.
When I can't do commentary in the Delaware area, I always try to put them in contact with Eric. He's a great commentator, also a really, really good competitor. I want to go see his finals match between Sam Michael and him because those guys were in the finals of the 58.5 kilogram division. In the 66 kilogram, I'm killing these.
65 kilograms.
65 kilogram division.
It's 65.9, but it's 66 kilograms.
We have Frank Rosenthal taking that one. Men's 77 kilo. We have Jordan Giuliano. Men's 88 kilo. We have Steve Jockum. And men's 99 kilo. We have Steve Jockum. I think Steve is also now on the Who's Number One card.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah,
either.
I think he got that nod to get on the Who's Number One because I think the absolute. No, it wasn't the absolute. But something that he won put him in that roster in that hopper.
Did he win that? The finishers.
Maybe
the
that's
finishers.
What it was.
The thing. There was the
Money in the Bank.
Yeah, and they had a side thing where if you won it, you got the.
I think that's what it was.
Nod in.
So he's on that, but it is cool to see him going into both divisions and winning both of them. Absolute class. We have John Sacco winning that one. For the women at under 56 kilos, we have Juliana Aguilar. We have women under 61. We have Chrissy Briggs. Under 65 kilos, we have Molly Zabrowski. Under 70 kilos, we have Sharon McGuire. And at the women's absolute, we have Ainsley Cox winning that.
Yeah.
So, again, love that we're seeing more events running ADCC-style rules. It's only going to make everyone better when Trials comes up. Trials are coming up, I think, in 2.5 months?
Yeah, end of...
March 30th, I think.
Right around Easter.
Yep. Still trying to get tickets. Still trying to get flights out there that are under $1,000 a piece.
Yeah,
it's rough.
It's rough. Especially when we have back-to-back things in Vegas.
We have March and then August. I'm just surprised flights are so expensive. So that's been my kind of driver the past couple of weeks.
Normally flying to Vegas isn't expensive.
Usually it's $400.
I know, and
so it is odd that it is so expensive for March.
It's weird.
So. That's unfortunate, but again, hopefully I'm going to be able to make it out to cover it. But really, if it breaks the bank, it's just not going to be in the cards.
We'll just do a party and watch it all together.
That would be kind of fun.
Yeah,
live stream Grappling Rewind. watch his ADCC trials.
We could do that.
We could. I have all the setup for it. So that's all I have, I think, for this week. We have the Long Beach Open this week. We have IBJJF Euros kicking off January 20th. We'll probably cover that on the week of the 27th.
Okay.
Because I think the white and blue belts kick off on the 20th and 21st.
Yeah.
And then the black belts typically go the 24th, 5th, and 6th, depending on Masters and adult. Typically, I think adults go 24th through 26th, depending on what adult division.
Hit the watch button, and it should tell you. Does it tell us anything?
Why would it tell us? Why would it tell us anything?
I don't know. I thought it would tell us
I mean, it would be great if it did. Finally,
it would be. I bet you that they haven't even. IBJJF hasn't even given a good schedule for Euros yet
to the competitors.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because that's always the thing. Is like. Especially
guys are wondering, like, when do I fly to Europe to go and do this event? We have a couple folks going. And they're like, when do we fly in? When am I supposed to fly in to go do this event?
So it looks like
the 25th, January 25th.
26th. January 26th, Friday, is black adult.
Oh, okay.
So it looks like adult black belt male athletes will start fighting on Friday. If your bracket is 9 or more people, quarters, semifinals, and finals will start or resume on Saturday.
Yeah, so 27th.
Yeah.
Okay. So
26th, 27th is going to be your open class and black belt.
And notably, Mika Gavao has entered at middleweight. So he's back.
So he's off his suspension.
He's off suspension, and look for him to probably take that bracket. But
do you want to bet money on them testing him this time around?
Euros? No.
No, because they don't test the Euros when I think about it.
They don't test the Euros. The Europeans get away with it for IBJJF. So that should be fun. Also, next week we'll have Fight to Win 243, the adults. And I think that's all we have going on right now. Again, we went from a kind of a lull to not a lull right now and back into the kind of the general swing of things for Grappling Rewind. You anything fun planned this week?
No, I'm about to see what the snow is like so I can figure out what I plan to do this evening.
Yep. Yeah.
So that's always a fun thing.
I'm going to hang out with my brother who's here from California. We just got back from seeing our other brother down in Norfolk. So that was fun. May or may not train this evening. Yeah. Depending on what's going on.
Depends on what the weather looks like. Yeah. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
Besides that, I think.
Yeah. That's all I got.
That's all I got.
All right. As always in the show, I'm your host, Maine, my co-host,
Miranda.
And we have the Grappling Rewind. See Matt, whatever it is, stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.